Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean McIntosh, Director of Public Affairs at the U.S. Embassy in Lusaka, Zambia. On behalf of the U.S. Embassy, I would like to welcome you to this special celebration of the 244th anniversary of the independence of the United States of America. Although COVID-19 has compelled us to remain separately from one another, the coronavirus cannot stop the spirit of the 4th of July. We are delighted to present this year's virtual Independence Day celebration from the U.S. Embassy so that everyone can participate safely from the comfort of their homes. We have quite the program in store for you. First, the U.S. Embassy's Marine Security Guard Detachment will present the colors, followed by the singing of the U.S. and Zambian national anthems by Zambian artist Luce of the Muba Band. Then, Chargé d'Affaires David Young will speak on 4 fundamental freedoms, interspersed with special musical selections by 4 of Zambia's leading musical artists. We have Wezi, Pompey, Mackie 2, and B-Flow. We will also hear some short readings by the Embassy team and get a culinary dose of American culture. We will conclude our program with the retirement of the colors and some closing words. At this time, I would like to invite the Marine Security Guard Detachment to commence with the presentation of the colors.
Detachment, attend. Present arms. Ready, 2. Dismiss.
Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Stand and sing of Zambia, proud and free, land of work and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We've won freedom's fight. Oh, one strong and free.
Today we celebrate the 244th Independence Day of the United States of America. July 4th is always a joyous occasion, but this year, for the first time, we celebrate virtually because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The 4th of July is an apt time for us to reflect on the ideals of liberty and justice on which our country is founded. Of course, this year, we are confronted by several challenges. The COVID pandemic has taken more than 120,000 lives in the United States and disrupted all of our lives dramatically. It has caused an economic downturn that has pushed more than 20 million people into unemployment. And George Floyd's horrible killing and other racial violence have led thousands to protest in our streets, calling for racial justice and an end to such actions. We are reminded that we have much work ahead of us as we strive for our ideals. For those of us serving here in Zambia, today is a wonderful time to join our Zambian friends in celebration of our Independence Day, because we share a common heritage in the community of democracies. This year, I'd like to reflect on an important speech of nearly 8 decades ago. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's remarks in 1941 in his State of the Union address, known as his 4 Freedoms speech, laid out a compelling vision of the 4 transcendent freedoms that everyone in the world ought to enjoy. In a real sense, these freedoms form the foundation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which the world adopted 7 years later, and which today is signed by virtually every country in the world, including the United States and Zambia. Thus, Roosevelt's 4 Freedoms speech is, in a true sense, the heritage of the whole world. These 4 core liberties, freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear, ring ever truer in our complex world. And today I will share some brief reflections on each of them. We will also hear a short reading about that freedom and enjoy a related song performed by a leading Zambian musical artist. So let us begin by looking at freedom of speech. We lead off with the song Yembo Zako by Wezi, followed by a short reading from Doreen Bailey.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinion without interference, and the right to seek, receive, and impart information through any media and regardless of frontiers. In the words of the great American poet Maya Angelou, the caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and its cry is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom.
The first of Roosevelt's 4 freedoms is freedom of speech, and in many ways, it is the foundational civil and political right. It's central to all freedoms: expression through the press, assembly, peaceful protest, belief. If you can't say what you believe, you aren't truly free. Today, freedom of speech is under threat around the world. In many countries, you risk imprisonment for simply voicing your opinion, which is a violation of the basic tenet of liberty. Now, freedom of speech is often difficult because at its core, it requires that people who decide to go into public life must tolerate criticism from all quarters. Whether you are a mayor, a police chief, a diplomat, or a national leader, democracy requires you to sign up for public criticism. If you want to have political power and influence and the status and responsibilities of public office, you have to be willing to be criticized, fairly and unfairly, and sometimes you might even be called names. Now, I'm not an elected official. I'm a career diplomat, but I occupy a position of public trust for my country. And that means I will be criticized for what I do or say and for the policies of my government, which I represent. But I defend that criticism, even when it's directed against me, because that is freedom of speech, our utmost sacred right as free people. That is what freedom means. In the United States today, our commitment to freedom of speech is on television screens around the world. As the whole world knows, we have some serious problems that need serious attention. Racist violence and instances of police brutality. The horrific killing of George Floyd has jolted America awake to the need to change our policies, protect our citizens, and address systemic problems of racism. That's where freedom of speech comes in. If we didn't have freedom of speech, we wouldn't continue to improve as individuals and as a nation. We wouldn't be allowed freedom of speech in debates, in the press, in social media, and in peaceful protest in our streets. Today, I am hopeful that out of the terrible tragedy of Mr. Floyd's death, some good may come, precisely because our citizens are exercising their freedom of speech to press for much needed change. Now, please allow me to share a couple reflections on freedom of speech in Zambia. Like the United States and other countries, Zambia is a signatory to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and thus committed to free speech. It is unfortunate in Zambia today that it is frowned upon to say anything critical about senior government leaders or problems in government without risking being censored or even threatened with arrest. Some people say if you criticize the president, you are unpatriotic. One leader in the National Assembly said government and party cadres should break the bones of its critics. That is inflammatory and not a peaceful exercise of freedom of speech. For me, freedom of speech needs to take place in the context of peaceful expression. If party cadres break into a radio station because the host is interviewing an opposition leader, that is a violation of freedom of speech. If media outlets that feature opposition and critical voices are closed, that is not freedom of speech. And when the Public Order Act is unevenly applied, allowing one party an unfair advantage of holding events and rallies, while opposing parties and civil society groups are not granted the same, that is a restriction on freedom of speech. Now, at the same time, these freedoms must be used responsibly. Social media is an important part of our lives today. It can be used in 1,000 different ways, both good and bad. We, of course, should strive to ensure that social media is not used to distribute hate speech or misogynistic speech. But when discussing the regulation of social media, it's important not to outlaw or prohibit fair comment and criticism of public officials. Respectful and peaceful debate and disagreement are essential parts of freedom of speech, our most precious right. I strongly encourage Zambia to protect and promote these freedoms, which are central to your democracy. To my Zambian friends, in government and outside government, I am convinced that your democracy and governance in the country will be strengthened by encouraging these fundamental freedoms. Let's now hear a song about another fundamental liberty, the freedom of belief, the freedom of religion. Here to sing Silence is the Zambian artist Pompey, followed by a short reading from Malota Damaseke.
All you need is a seed, a mustard seed. To be specific, it's all you need. And in faith just speak, and it shall be. Lazarus Aligone is what you should see. Get a vision and call it. Silence, beafunani silence. Wene ujaka walala, beafunani silence. Speak what you want to see, declare what you want to be. Osati, silence, beafunani silence. See, I'm strong in the Lord and the power of His might. Tell a lie and you can't bite. Ngati unga kambe na lupili, nishi ili na matu. You step aside, cause I know where my treasure is. It's on the other side, and I'm here with some witnesses. Silence, beafunani silence. Wene ujaka wala la la, beafunani silence. Speak what you want to see, declare what you want to be. Osati, silence, beafunani silence. Sinifuna silence. Sinifuna silence. Sitifuna silence. Ow. Sitifuna silence. Hey, silence. Beafunani silence. Bele ujaka walala. Beafunani silence. Speak what you want to see, declare what you want to be. Osati, silence. Beafunani silence. Yeah. Speak now with no delay, and see now with no delay. Speak now with no delay, and see now. Yeah. Speak now with no delay, and see now with no delay. Speak now with no delay, and see now. Yeah. Silence, beafunani silence. Wene ujaka wala la la, beafunani silence. Speak what you want to see, declare what you want to be. Osati, silence, beafunani silence.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others, and in public or private, to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, or observance. The American civil rights leader, Martin Luther King Jr., reminded us that a faith community is not the master or the servant of the state, but rather the conscience of the state. It must be the guide and the critic of the state and never its tool.
Freedom of worship or belief is similarly a foundational right. In the U.S. Bill of Rights, it was listed very first of all. The United States was founded on the principle of freedom of belief. European immigrants crossed the ocean because they weren't allowed to express their beliefs freely. Now, whether one believes in a supreme being or not, and however one chooses to worship or not, this was considered fundamental to one's personhood. And throughout our history, some of the greatest steps forward that we have made for freedom have been influenced by faith communities, whether fighting against slavery or for civil rights, against Nazism or anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. Central to our view of freedom of belief is that any person has the right to peaceful expression of their beliefs, and peaceful is the key point. No matter what I believe in, as long as I'm peaceful and do not harm other people or infringe on their rights, I should be free to practice my beliefs. In Zambia, you have a long tradition of peaceful exercise of religious beliefs in a context of tolerance and mutual respect. Former President Kaunda's wonderful slogan of One Zambia, One Nation exemplifies this spirit. As one nation, you have constitutional guarantees of freedom of belief as a multi-religious nation. My hope for Zambia is you will preserve this important heritage, even at the same time you encourage people to profess and live out their different traditions peacefully. I would encourage you to maintain your respect for all faiths, including Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, and all persons in one Zambia, one nation. For me, that is one of the powerful messages you convey to the whole world. Next, I'd like us to focus on the third freedom, freedom from want. Here to sing Nangu Banchinge is the Zambian artist Makitu, followed by a reading from Clarice Chewisa.
Reporting live from LSK City. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go.
Nangu banchinge ukufilwa nakana nalatulukusha baka fiende mfoye baka fiende mfoye Nangu banchinge ukufilwa nakana nalatulukusha baka fiende mfoye baka fiende mfoye.
One more time, Adishan. Mutumba amaya nonangu fepini ngakubumuka nibulyo bwa mumatini nakwetefe fuloso kuyisunga kwa tilini sibenzo biliva chenze kunibaba nenze libeba zanga bonse benzo taba wishena lishama pantu awe takwaba fonale ipushale sawandinebo mushawa I'm a legend in the game now. Ni wechibulu if you never heard my name now. Teti munseche waleti andi mutu Brene maafu mtotoka nyamazali
ukufilwa nakana nalatulukusha baka fiende mfoye
baka fiende
mfoye Nangu banchinge ukufilwa nakana nalatulukusha baka fiende mfoye baka fiende mfoye.
pene nzoyamba flow ezokamba tini feki pene nzoyamba flow ezokamba tini leke manje nowadays ni sign amacheki na vene benzoshusha nibauza nimba na bantu nenzomvela che ku radio nipezeka na bantu nenzoona che pa video look I ain't sit down I went there to get it 5 years later I'm the most imitated so nanguba kuchinge boy don't lose hope don't even sit up uziuze che ati Baga fier yeah
Nangu wanchinge ukufilwa nakana nala tukuja baka fiene foye
Baga fier
baka fiene foye
Baga fier Niofia bantu bene nenzo yopa neoponi chimfya pafunika milopa mapaparazzi badililo nikopa dine mupondo komba sindineopa I got game like Messi, so when I step on the mic, I leave the gap messy. Messy, beaucoup. Even when I'm playing on the mic, I still sound cool. I remember back then, vale mwena moloko, vale tila oyo, tabala umfwana foko, vale fwa bakalindula mabanjo na bongo, kwa tudio mukamba, kanda bongo. Man, tayari nomo, kubolela mushofu, ngwatwala puromo, batini fwetu liko ukuchula no more, pantu toaleti.
Nangu wanchinge ukufilwa nakana nala tulukusha baka fiene foye baka fiene foye Nangu wanchinge ukufilwa nakana nala tulukusha baka fiene foye baka fiene foye
One more time, I did. This one is a street anthem for all my people going through it. And I go by the name Makadu. I came with Tawela. On the keys, I got my man Josh. Mr. Kennedy on guitars. Thank you so much for having us. God bless.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, everyone as a member of society has the right to realize the economic, social, and cultural rights indispensable for his dignity and the free development of his personality. As the Indian campaigner for independence, Mahatma Gandhi said, poverty is the worst form of violence.
Freedom from want is a core of the economic and social rights in the Universal Declaration. Sometimes human rights scholars say it is less of a right than an aspiration. They say it is not binding in a treaty in the same way as a civil right, like freedom of speech. I understand that perspective, but I think they miss the point that Roosevelt captured so well. Freedom from want is essential for a person to be able to be free and dignified and able to reach his or her full potential. If you don't have enough to eat, or adequate shelter, or good health or education, then you can't live in full dignity and freedom, especially when you're not able to provide for your children or other young people in your community. I think Gandhi said it best. Poverty is the worst form of violence. I must confess that sometimes many of us, myself included, forget how malicious and dehumanizing is deep poverty. In fact, if you're listening to my speech and hearing the wonderful music today, you're one of the world's lucky ones. You have access to the internet and the digital economy, blessings of the information revolution that previous generations couldn't even imagine, and hundreds of millions of people don't have access to today around the world. The United States government believes strongly that helping people have access to health and education is essential to overcoming freedom from want. That's why we invest so much in these areas. In Zambia alone, we invest $500 million each year, roughly 9 billion kwacha, to fight HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, COVID-19, and other diseases. Similarly, we invest in primary and secondary education and scholarships for outstanding university and graduate scholars because health and education are core principles to defeat want. In each of these areas, we work closely with our Zambian government, business, and civil society partners to fight freedom from want. In some ways, freedom from want is the toughest freedom to secure. In the United States, as in Zambia, there is persistent poverty and need. In the U.S., we have deep class divides that separate us despite our extraordinary wealth. When race and class divisions collide in the United States, we face some of our most difficult challenges. In Zambia, too, freedom from want is at the top of the list of challenges, especially magnified by the COVID pandemic. Zambia has made tremendous strides in improving the health of its citizens and ensuring access to primary education for all children in the last 2 decades. But improving the quality of education and economic opportunity remain great tasks ahead for the Zambian government, businesses, and civil society. We, as development partners, share a deep sense of commitment in fighting for freedom from want. And the future of all the children of our countries and the world depends on it. So now, let us turn to the last of the 4 freedoms, freedom from fear. Here to sing victory is the Zambian artist Biflo, followed by a reading from Lieutenant Colonel Eric Jordan.
Yeah, man. Happy 4th of July, America. We love the US ZAM exchange. Big up. Kasange chuma chandi ikawa malaifi yandi kakwata victory. I know I'll find my victory. Kasange chuma chandi ikawa malaifi yandi kakwata victory. I know I'll find my victory. Ulia mwakata wavotele my dear batifuti walipontele tafichinja nangulamba votele. Ulia mwaka twalivotele MP elo kansela twavotele alikwi alikukila kutauni nombe fintu fikachinja shani ngamatula bakonga mwaingila pachani wemisepela tukabomba shani ngatwakwisho kuvota mwatuposa panse amagayobe yabamwivoti yandi iwe wine wentungulushi yandi wilandekelesha nolukwalwandi makamaka mukomboni tivutika badaine ngasange chumatandi ikawa malaifi yandi ngakwata victory. I know I'll find my victory. Ngasange chumatandi ikawa malaifi yandi ngakwata victory. I know. Give me a mix. Are you 18? Oloka pena very soon you'll be turning 18. In the right age to do the right thing. Zepa kepo, it will stop the doubting. Hey, punsa kobe na vijebe na kabindele. Bana kwanisa kwanji kuti bale mele. Bana licheba pana iwe don't be lazy. Osa yembekeza poma come on kala busy. Oseni muli mumadizi. Imwe puto ili yonseni wa governmenti. Nyamuka pe ulili find the right direction. My dedication to me generation. I gonna kuwaya waya. Abena Lucy mwena bena waya. Abena Judy na bena chanda. Mwila wako webeko na bena banda. I gonna kuwaya waya. Abena Lucy mwena bena waya. Abena Judy na bena chanda. Mwila wako webeko na bena banda. Nkasange chuma chandi. Ikawa malaifi yandi. Ngakwata victory. I know I'll find my victory. Ngasange chuma chandi ikawa malaifi yandi ngakwata victory. I know I'll find my victory. Uchita chani iwe muzanga time itikinga iwe tamanga osankala chabe nozibova uyembekeza boma ti izasova wikatila kutisha pwevele na life ingachinje ngati ungabilive zivelele chifundo nyamuka pamupando tikakwilizana manja tingachinje ziko aikono kuwayawaya abena lusi mwena bena walya abena judi na bena chanda mwilabako webeko na bena banda nkasange tumachandi ekawa malaifi yandi kakwata victory I know I'll find my victory nkasange tumachandi ekawa malaifi yandi kakwata victory I know I'll find my victory. Chant it on.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that freedom from fear is one of the rights that forms the highest aspirations of the people of the world. The Declaration says that everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. In the words of former South African President Nelson Mandela, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Lastly, Roosevelt framed his freedom from fear in the context of World War II, during the terrible period of Nazi domination of Central Europe and other countries. Their reign of terror and the devastating war to defeat them and liberate Europe resulted in the loss of 55 million human lives. Seen from that somber perspective, we do not have the terrible institutionalized violence of interstate conflict on that scale today, thankfully. But freedom from fear continues to be a challenge and aspiration in our world. In the United States today, many African Americans fear arbitrary and racist violence, whether from encounters with rogue members of security forces or from racist groups and individuals. In addition, around the world today, many women fear gender-based violence. This is a horrific problem in Zambia, the United States, and the world. Rape and sexual assault are widespread and demand our urgent attention to defeat them. So when we think about freedom from fear, we need to recognize that we still have much work ahead of us. We must fight these violations of human freedoms with great determination. In conclusion, we round up our survey of Franklin Roosevelt's 4 freedoms. All of us deserve to fully enjoy freedom of speech, freedom of belief, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. These rights are the birthright of all people around the world, and we at the U.S. Embassy look forward to continue working with all our Zambian partners, both in government and outside government, to strengthen observance of these rights. The United States and Zambia stand arm in arm as democracies committed to these fundamental freedoms, and we affirm our common heritage on this, our Independence Day. So at this time, let's focus on another part of 4th of July, because it's not all just serious. Because Independence Day is also a time for celebration. Families and friends gather to eat, watch fireworks, and enjoy their long-awaited summer holiday. Taylor Yes from our USAID team is here to share one of her favorite 4th of July traditions.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Taylor Yes. I am with USAID in the Communications Department. I'm really excited to be here today to show you how to make a s'more, which is one of my favorite parts of 4th of July. After the fireworks show, we come home and we're able to do one s'more, one perfect s'more before going to bed. So I'm excited to do this tutorial for you and tell you a little bit about how you can celebrate Independence Day with us at home, because all the ingredients and everything you need can be found here in Zambia too. So first, what you have to do is gather your ingredients. So gather biscuits, any kind you like. I got my favorites, but I'm sure you have yours. You can gather some chocolate, again, if you like dark chocolate, or if you like milk chocolate, or even if you like chocolate with something inside, like a fruit and nut or something, you can get that. and then your marshmallows. Okay, so step 1 to making a s'more is building a fire. The best thing is to build it in advance because you want to cook over coals rather than the open flame. The reason you want to do that is because the marshmallows burn very quickly, and so if you're burning or if you're cooking or braaiing over open flames, they're more likely to catch fire. And some people like a marshmallow like that, and that's okay too. Just be careful if your marshmallow starts burning to blow it out carefully and not start waving your stick around, because otherwise there's a fire hazard. So today we're going to make sure to, for sure, sanitize our hands, or better, wash with soap and water, and let that dry. And then you're going to prepare your roasting stick. So your roasting stick can be anything from your garden. I just found this was actually a thorny stick from the garden. And you put on 1 or 2 marshmallows. I always like 2. And roast nicely over the fire. So once they're secured, you kind of go maybe a few 10 or 15 centimeters above the fire, above the coals, and slowly turn it so that you make sure each side is golden brown. This is a slow process if you really want it to be nice and gooey on the inside and crunchy on the outside. So make sure to give yourself a little bit of time. Some people rush it, and that's usually when you get a burnt marshmallow. And again, some people love that, so that's okay too. Once they're golden brown, like this one right here, we pre-cooked it, so you don't have to watch me the whole time make that one. Once they're golden brown, you set up over on this side. Put a biscuit down, put your golden marshmallow on top of it, add some chocolate. I like, in these, there's 6 squares. I think that's about the right size. So add your chocolate on top, put the second biscuit, pull out your stick, which is a little bit hard because the marshmallow is sticky. And that's all there is to it, really. And then you get to enjoy. It's so delicious. Just make sure to have a hand towel or something nearby that you can wipe your hands off. So those are the 3 main steps, right? Gather your ingredients, roast your marshmallows nicely, and then have your biscuits and chocolate pre-set up so when it comes off the fire, you can immediately put the 2 biscuits down, pull out your roasting stick, and enjoy. Thanks so much, and we really look forward to seeing your pictures of your s'mores, so send us through some photos in the comments. Thanks.
Kupenda free men we stand no kutungwa twalisenda the brain that I fell njibele back to the sender pride in our country when I feel mukwenda
in the warmth of your heart deep inside I know sits passion and pride and unwavered hope. Keep holding your head up, keep your sights to the sun. Today we're dancing beside you. We are
strong, become freedom in this season. We should master our wings and freely soar.
Light up every night like it's over.
celebration, celebrate. Celebration in the nation. What about the peace and unity? You look like freedom, you walk like freedom, so dance like freedom. Oh yes, that's freedom. Like freedom, you walk like freedom, so dance like freedom. Oh yes, that's freedom. Like freedom, you walk like freedom, so dance like freedom. Oh yes, that's freedom. Like freedom, you walk like freedom, so dance like freedom. Oh yes, that's freedom. Freedom, 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 celebrate your 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 freedom.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the conclusion of our program. We hope you enjoyed every minute of it. On behalf of the U.S. Embassy, I would like to thank you for your virtual participation. Stay home, stay safe, and stay healthy. And may God bless you, may God bless the Republic of Zambia, and may God bless the United States of America.